A cerebral compression is where the damage has been so severe that blood loss can create pressure within the skull, because obviously it's a solid surface. It's got no means of escape, like a bruise on the skin. That can cause problems, significant problems to the brain. It's obviously life-threatening and requires urgent attention. A person may have trouble staying awake or breathing correctly. Obviously, there's a good chance of severe pain. The skin becomes very dry and flushed, and also the breathing starts to slow down because they're having problems in actually managing it. Because remember, the brain controls everything, and the pulse slows right down, but it does really start to bound. And then what you can have, which is a surefire indicator, are pupils which are dilated, which is very, very large, or uneven, unequal. That would typically tell you there's a problem. They say, they're looking at it and they say, oh, well, one of the pupils have blown. That tells you that the braid's got confused. That's why you see on TV the doctors put lights into people's eyes to see if the actual pupils will move normally, as they should react with the light. Yeah, and there is both eyes dilated. Obviously you've not got an X-ray machine. You kind of look inside the person's brain to see if the brain's been injured enough during the accident to start causing an internal bleed. But things like seizures are very common when you've got head injuries, especially in children, or if they don't improve after the bump. That's obviously another signal as well. Fracture is when there's actual damage to the skull, which protects the brain. You can find there's an actual bruise, a dent, or swelling, bleeding coming out of the head. Yeah, you can find there's a depression where it's actually been pushed in. If they've got hair, obviously a lot of hair, and typically there's bleeding, it can be quite difficult to see what's going on, and it's quite unpleasant. I've got first-hand experience of putting my hands into somebody's hair and finding a skull fracture. It's not nice. But it needs to be done to identify whether the skull has been damaged significantly. You can get a bleed. You can get a bleed on the scalp, which looks really bad, but the skull's perfectly intact. So it's just for peace of mind to check if you're okay with that. Eyes can get damaged, which is quite possible. Bruising or swelling behind the ear, or any kind of liquid coming from the nose, which is either clear or straw-like. You can have bleeding, but you can also have spinal fluid, which is held in the brain, and if that's leaking out, you've definitely got some kind of fracture. And obviously, when you look at the head, it just doesn't look right. If you look at the eyes, you can get blood, or you might find a small hemorrhaging, where some vessels have burst because of the pressure or because of the impact.